All right, so I'd like to thank Nick for being here today. Nick is our speaker. Real quick about Nick. When I got out of rehab, second meeting I made it to, which was the second day that I was back in Charleston, it was drilled into my head over the 6 weeks that I was in treatment that I needed to find a sponsor as soon as possible when I got back. And I really didn't have any idea what I was looking for, but I went into Old Central, and there was this real loud, boisterous Brooklyn guy tattooed up, drove there on a Harley, and just crammed the big book down your throat. I was like, that's my fucking guy right there. And that was Nick. And who knows how it would have gone had I had a different sponsor, but I know that having Nick by my side through my journey has made all the difference, and it's made where I am today possible. So that's a testament to him and his commitment. He sponsors a lot of guys. He's DCM of District 70, and he is the chairperson of TCIO, so he's highly active on the organizational level of AA. I don't know many people that commit more time to other men and this program as a whole. I don't know many people that know the big book as well as Nick. He constantly sends out reminders of what this is supposed to be about. It's about alcoholics helping other alcoholics. It's about solutions. We don't come to meetings to discuss our problems. We come to meetings to help others with solutions. And Nick brings the solution. Nick has a great story. I've heard it before, but it's a treat to hear it again. And with that, I give you Nick.
Good morning, men. My name is Nick, and I'm an alcoholic. Jay, thank you for that introduction. Can you do that again at my funeral? That was wonderful. Wow. Again, my name is Nick, and I'm an alcoholic. My sobriety date is August 2nd of 2020. I have a sponsor. In fact, I have a cabinet of sponsors. I needed a lot of help. I work with a lot of men, sponsees, who I talk to daily. I made it my business, I was told early on, to not just have a sponsor, but to build a network. And I emphasize that greatly with any man that I talk to today. I say, build a network. If a crisis hits, a situation arises, it's better to have a dozen phone numbers of people who I use and I call and I speak to on a regular basis than just one or two names. Because if they can't pick up the phone, I may find myself in hot water. So, it is an honor to be invited here this morning. Thank you all. It was not that long ago that I was not invited anywhere. And when I did show up, people looked at the floor and shook their head and said, uh-oh. So it truly is an honor to be invited here. I'm not from Charleston, in case you can't tell. Moved to Charleston exactly 6 years ago. I was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. When I moved to Charleston, I knew no one, absolutely no one in Charleston. I moved to Charleston by myself, which at the time, and I did not realize it, what I was doing was what the big book describes as the geographical change. I had done some, I'm going to be very polite, I'm going to try not to curse this morning. I've done some stuff in New York City that I said I need to put some distance between me and whatever I did in New York. I will sum it up. I had detectives looking for me in New York, I had detectives looking for me in Florida, and then eventually I had detectives looking for me down here in South Carolina. So yeah, I did some stuff. I tried to leave that 800 miles north. Shockingly, when I was here only a few weeks, in front of my house, I just moved here, there were 3 cop cars pounding on my door at 2 a.m. And I'm sitting there going, how'd they find me? So the geographical change was a zero solution for me. I had burnt every single bridge. I come from a very, very large Italian family. All that stereotypical stuff you see on TV, yes, that is me and my family. Of this giant family who I went through systematically, no one wanted to speak to me anymore. And it wasn't until my mom, I mean your mom, right? This is the last person on earth that I would ever think would stop taking my phone calls. She said to me point blank, after decades of her watching me try to kill myself, she said to me, "Nicky, I love you." Only my mom's allowed to call me Nicky. She said, "Nicky, I love you." She says, "I cannot do this anymore." She says, "I cannot do this," with tears in her eyes, and we hung up the phone, and I did not talk to her again for almost 10 years. We reconnected for a few years before she passed. But my mother never saw me sober. That happened just before I came to Charleston. That woman never saw me sober. So to say that my life was unmanageable is putting it politely. My life was an absolute dumpster fire, and there was no consequence. There was no consequence. I have been before dozens of judges, criminal judges, family judges, Supreme Court judges. I have had police threaten me. I've been told I was going to go to jail for a very, very, very long time. I've had doctors tell me you're killing yourself. I've had therapists. The list goes on and on and on. Friends, family, loved ones, girlfriends. The list is eternal. All telling me, stop. I'm going to leave, throwing at me whatever they could. There was no consequence. There was nothing that was ever said to me that was enough to make me stop drinking. Even when I wanted to stop. Even when I said to myself, this is like the third or fourth time I woke up in jail, I don't even know what I did to get here. Hard to build a defense for yourself when you don't know what you did. You're in jail. So, and I would wake up and I would say, all right, this is it. And in that moment, in that instant, I meant it. I honestly meant it. I said, that's it. I'm not drinking again. And then for some reason, 2-3 hours later, I forgot the agonizing pain that I was just in, the promises I made to myself, and what am I doing? Drinking again. And I'm going to throw this out there just once. When I say drinking, also know that part of my story were these little tiny Ziploc baggies, okay? But this is AA, and out of respect for the program, I'm going to stick with alcohol. But these little tiny Ziploc baggies with these little, filled with powder, is very, very, very much a part of my past, okay? So I was full-blown addict, junkie, blackout drunk. Powerless and unmanageable. The thing was, when I came into the program, broken, busted and broken, for me, you know what the great motivator for me is? One word, gents, pain. Pain. And the pain for this stubborn mule, the cement between these two ears, the pain had to be excruciating. Excruciating to get my ass off the couch. I could be in a little, oh, my arm hurts. I'm not going to go see the doctor. The bone has to literally be sticking out of my arm for me to go, I should probably see somebody about that. That's what it was with my addiction. It wasn't until I was in excruciating pain in Charleston, I know no one. I pick up my phone and I Google AA because I didn't know what else to do. I live in West Ashley, geographically, WAG, the Blue House, you all know it, is within 5 miles or less of my front door. I drag myself to the Blue House. I don't know a single person. I sat in Relapse Row. You all know where Relapse Row is? The back row, right next to the exit. I don't talk to anybody. I don't look at anybody. And I'm thinking, no one's going to notice me. Meanwhile, I'm a mess. I haven't had a shower in, weeks. I don't know what a toothbrush is. My hair's on fire. And I think I'm going to blend and no one's going to catch me in this back row. I don't know anybody. The meeting ends. I'm surrounded by people, mostly the guys, and they're phone numbers and schedules, and one gentleman gave me a pocket big book, which I still have to this day. It is one of my prized possessions, all in that first meeting, and I was overwhelmed with AA love. In fact, it was too much for me in that moment, and I ran out, and I convinced myself, well, I'm bad, but I'm not as bad as those people. Yes, I have a problem. Yes, I am powerless, but I was only willing to admit 95% powerless. You get it? I'm 95% powerless. That 5% not powerless, I'm thinking, I'll figure it out. I'll land on my feet. 3 most dangerous words: I got this. 5% of me, 95% of me, I am a dumpster fire. 5% of me, I'll figure it out. I just need to dry out, right? Oh, I know what I need. I need to, maybe if I don't drink for a couple of weeks. And then I proceeded to do everything listed in the big book. No hard liquor, beer only. I'm only going to drink on Friday. This is before I ever cracked open a big book. I did every single thing listed, all the ways we tried to stop drinking. So I'm not going to drink before, 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I failed miserably at every single attempt to stop drinking. This is not my first time in AA. Back in 2007, a New York City judge was being nice to me. New York City judge was being kind to me. I was involved in a very acrimonious divorce. And my ex-wife was keeping very detailed notes about the visitation schedule. I only had my kids 2 weekends a month. That was it. It was from Friday to Sunday, every other weekend. That's it. Gentlemen, that's 4 days out of 31 days. That's all that is. I got 28 days, 27 days to get trashed. 4 days I got to hold it together. I couldn't do it. I couldn't hold it together for 4 days in front of my sons, who were, like 9 and 10 at the time. And so they would go back home, and Mommy would say, well, how was your weekend? And their response was, well, Dad bought a pizza, we sat in front of the Xbox, and then, he went to sleep for 48 hours. So she's keeping meticulous notes. She takes me back to court. The judge hearing this, the judge realizes I got a problem, and the judge says to me, Nick, and the judge was being nice. But at the time, I'm a victim, and the judge is picking on me, right? The judge is being nice and says to me, go into AA, get this piece of paper signed, go to 90 meetings in 90 days, get the signatures on the piece of paper, and you can remain a custodial parent to your sons. It's back in 2007. So I actually did it. I actually went to AA meetings. You know what they say, meeting makers make it? I went to AA meetings, and that's all I heard, by the way. All I heard was meeting makers make it. I didn't hear another word. So I'm going to go to meetings. So I went to meetings, I got my paper signed, and by some miracle, I was abstinent for 3-4 years. I used the word abstinent. Do not say sober. I just didn't drink or drug. I also did not do a single step. I had zero higher power. I had zero relationship with a sponsor. I hung out with sober guys and did sober stuff. And I thought I was doing AA because I heard meeting makers make it. Just don't drink and go to meetings. That's all my brain heard. I did not hear anything else. And after I got to know a handful of guys, a couple of dozen guys, very, very well, back home in Brooklyn. And one of the guys comes up to me and goes, "Read this," and he gives me a big book. The 3rd edition big book he gives me. That's what he handed me at the time, back in 2007. And I go, "What is this?" And he goes, well, it's the big book, Alcoholics Anonymous. You should read it. And I said, why do I have to read it? I go, I'm already in AA. I'm doing AA. What are you talking about? Look, I go to meetings, I sit in a plastic chair, and I complain. And I get a free cup of coffee. That's AA, right? Y'all keep telling me just go to meetings. 90 meetings in 90 days. Meeting makers, that's, you guys hearing me? That's all my brain heard. My brain did not hear, take the steps. My brain never heard that. My brain never said, you must, not a suggestion, have a spiritual awakening as the result of these 12 steps. I never heard that. I never heard that. So what is a spiritual awakening? Well, higher power. Look, he's complaining about his job. He's complaining about his wife. I'm complaining. We're all good. I didn't drink today. I'm doing AA. Fast forward, you already know the ending, whether or not you've heard me tell it to you before. I drank again, I lost my kids. Who did I blame? I blame my ex-wife. I blame the judge. I blame the entire family court system. I blame the NYPD. Why are you picking on me? Right? You know whose fault it was not? It was not Nick's fault. I had zero accountability in my life. I played the victim card repeatedly. Mommy and daddy didn't love me. Wah, poor Nick. Wah, grown-ass man crying like a little girl. I lost a lot of things because of this disease, and I'm going to correct myself. I lost nothing. I know where my house is that I used to live in. I know where my ex-wife is. I know where that job is that I used to have. I didn't lose them. You know what I did? I traded it. I didn't lose shit. Oh, I said I wasn't going to curse. I traded the job, the wife, the gorgeous family, the summer vacations. I traded it for a handle of vodka and that little teeny Ziploc bag I mentioned. I traded it. I had a choice. I made a choice. I do not regret anything that I did, and I'll tell you why. Because all of that mess brought me here to this room today in front of you boys. I haven't had a drink now in 4.5 years-ish, right? Nothing. I have a relationship with God today. I regret none of that. All of that brought me here. There is one thing that breaks my heart. It's hard to talk about. I told you I lost my kids. 2009, I remember, I went to the family court, and I was drinking again, and my wife was taking those notes, and I was brought before the judge, and I lost custody of my kids. That was 2009. It is now 2025. I have not spoken to them since. That's a long time, boys. That's a lot of heartbreak. And I'll tell you why I share that. Because it could happen to any one of us that suffers from this disease. It is the reality of what we have. But I am alive. I am here today. Many of us are not alive. I just heard of a young lady who relapsed fentanyl. She's dead. I just heard this story Monday. I'm still here. And because I'm still here, I still have hope that maybe one day they will accept my calls. I reach out to them constantly. All electronic forms, the handwritten letters, you name it. I reach out to them constantly. They're not ready for me. And that's my fault. That's on me. Powerless over drugs and alcohol. My life is absolutely unmanageable. And I could not stop on my own. So now I'm in Charleston, and my first sponsor here in Charleston is a lifetime Marine. That's all this gentleman did, was a lifetime Marine. Now, God's funny. Jay just told you how he and I met. I didn't know this Marine from Charleston. This is my first sponsor. I'm going to tell you how the phone calls used to go between me and this gentleman. These were the phone calls. I'd call him up and I'd go, wah, poor Nick, wah, and he'd click. I call him back. I think we got disconnected. Wah, poor Nick, click. I swear to God. And then I'd call him back and he'd go, you done? You done with that BS noise? He goes, you call me, we're going to talk solution. I didn't have a solution. My shares back then were horrible. My shares were, that was my share. My car don't work. Whatever, some bullshit. That was my share. There was no solution in my shares. God put this lifetime Marine with 30 plus years of sobriety in my life who said, I'm going to hold Nick's feet to the fire. We're going to go through this book. And he never used the word suggestion. He did not use the word suggestion to me. He turned to the first page in the big book. The first page in the big book is blank. He's blank. And he said to me, that's what you know. You know what's on this page in this book, right here. That's what you know. He said, do not speak. He said, the only meetings you're allowed to speak to are beginners meetings. He says, the rest of the meetings you go to, you shut up and listen. This guy's 30 years in the program. He came through the program in a different era, a different time. Today, what I see today is a lot of hugging and kissing, and I'm going to be honest with you. If you give me the hugs and kisses, I'm going to exploit you. I'm going to lie to you. I'm going to use that shit against you. You know that there's that old song, a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down, right? Well, now I'm addicted to the sugar now. Keep the sugar coming. So I had this sponsor who pointed some things out to me. This is my big book. I take my big book everywhere. I don't care what meeting I go to. I don't care what the meeting is. I take my big book. The big book basically doesn't leave my side. Page 63. Page 60. I know I don't have a lot of time. Page 63. The top of page 63 are the third step promises. The third step, the first sentence of the third step promises. When we sincerely took such a position, all sorts of remarkable things followed. Remarkable things followed. Gentlemen, that came true. Absolutely remarkable. My life is not what it was. I am no longer living in a dumpster fire. Exactly what the big book says. My worst day today is better than my best day when I was out there. But there's a couple of other words on page 63 that I really like. Suggestion's not on page 63. Vigorous action is on page 63. Okay, technically now I'm on 64. Vital, crucial, and strenuous. Those are the words in this book. And yes, the book does say suggestion, but for every one time you read the word suggestion, the word must is printed 3 times. Let that soak over for a second. If you say, Nick, this is a suggestion, I become the greatest attorney in the world, and I'll start twisting and debating you. Well, you said it was a suggestion, right? So now, but then. My sponsor said, sit down, shut up. You want to do it your way? Go ahead, go have a good time. That's what he said. He said, go. He goes, here's $20, first bottle's on me, go. I was like, whoa. I said, no, I don't want to drink anymore. He said, then we are going to do vigorous action, strenuous, crucial, essential action. And I sat down, and the hardest step for me, people wrestle with 4, people wrestle with 9. I mean, wherever we are in our journey, the single hardest step for me was step 3, that G word. Whew, I did not like that G word. I grew up strict Roman Catholic. If you're Italian, it's mandatory. Strict Roman Catholic I grew up. And I grew up with the fire and brimstone God. And as a child, I was going to hell. That was it. I went to church every Sunday, and every Sunday I heard, you're going to hell. And I went, okay, might as well have a good time. So I built up this childhood resentment against God. It wasn't until this program I realized I do not have a resentment towards God. My resentment was towards people that in my childhood existence my perception represented God. That's where my resentment was. My resentment was sadistic nuns, and overly friendly priests. So as soon as I could, somewhere around the 9th grade, I turned my back on God. But again, it wasn't God, boys. Here's the, what came first, the chicken or the egg? God brought me to AA, and AA brought me to God. You figure it out. I didn't pray for decades. Didn't pray, didn't think I need to, thought it was a waste of time and effort. I pray every single day now. The minute I wake up, I pray. All day long, I pray. You know what the shortest prayer in the world is for me? I got it written down right here. Shortest prayer in the world. Dear God, thank you. Shortest prayer in the world. I say that constantly. I say it all day. And I didn't believe in God. And I'll tell you this. I don't say Jesus. I don't say Allah. I don't say Buddha. I don't say Muhammad, Jacob, Isaac, Abraham. I don't say any of that. I say God. And then you go, well, Nick, what is God? Here's my answer. I don't know. I'm a hairless ape with a little brain. I don't know what God is, the creator of everything. I don't know what God is. That's who I pray to. Boys, there was nothing, right? There was at one point in time, whether you go creationism or evolution, I don't pick a road. I don't care which one you pick. At one point in time, there was nothing. There was nothing. And now there's everything. I don't know who did that. That's who I pray to. And it works. And I hear some of us go, I don't need to pray. I can be agnostic. I could pray to the doorknob. I go, that's great. If you praying to that doorknob keeps you sober, man, God bless you. I salute you. But you go back to my step 2. I tried every which way possible to beat this game. And alcohol was my master. So even though I didn't pray to God, guess what I prayed to? The altar of drugs and alcohol. I was on my knees. I was drugs and alcohol's bitch. I prayed to drugs and alcohol. That was my higher power until one day it wasn't. So my sponsor said, sit down, shut up. Vital, crucial, strenuous effort. Program of action. Stop crying in the plastic chair. We're going to get off our ass and we're going to do something. And then I had to do this thing where I had to take a fearless moral inventory of myself. I'm a grown man. I was like, I have no clue what that is. You know what I learned in step 4? Accountability for the first time in my life. For the first time in my life, I learned accountability. I no longer blamed the world for what I chose to do. It was not mommy and daddy's fault anymore. Because I blame mommy and daddy for 50 plus years. Now I have my list of character defects. I have to hand them over to God. Not easy. Not easy because I relied on these character defects my entire life. This is what I thought was working for me. The big book says drastic changes. Drastic changes have to happen. Lifelong conceptions of what used to work, we must throw away. So now I have to take all of what I thought was a bullet point on my resume. Well, look, I'm self-sufficient, I'm self-reliant. No, that doesn't work. I had to throw that away. And step 6 and 7 is all day, every day for the rest of my life. That doesn't take place in an hour. I don't go home for an hour and go, okay, you got it. That led me to a face-to-face admission. The big book makes it very, very clear. A face-to-face. The big book doesn't say shoot them a text. FaceTime them. Make a phone call. I don't see any of that in this book. I don't see it. If it's in your book, show it to me. It's not my book. My book says a face-to-face admission, a mumbling of I am sorry will not fill the bill. That is directly out of this book. This book saved my life, boys. I don't push back on it. I used to. I used to fight all of you. I fought this book, and I fought him, whoever he is. I don't fight it anymore. My life, people say to me this morning, Nick, how you doing? How you doing? I have one word. I have my stock response when anybody says, Nick, how you doing? I am blessed. I'm blessed today. I remember vividly who I was. I remember vividly what my day was like. And it was absolutely horrendous. And self-will could not pull me from that pain. It was not until I accepted the clear-cut directions, page 29, the clear-cut directions in this book, that my life slowly started to turn around. So what changed? The world is still doing exactly what the world does, right? The world didn't change for Nick as much as I tried to make it. As much as I tried to make all you guys change and the world change and whoever I'm dating that week, you got to change, you got to do what I want. None of that changed. But I'm not drinking today. So what changed? I had a spiritual awakening. I don't know when. I can't tell you what page, what chapter that happened. I don't know when. But I'll tell you this. I view life very differently today. And I'll shut up with a quote from one of my favorite Elvis Presley songs. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, and now I am found. I was blind, and now I see. That's all I got, boys. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Nick. Appreciate your share.